Welcome to Linda K. Silva's episode of Lizzie's Bedtime's Pride Special. Welcome back to the show, Linda.
And thank you.
I love having you on the show. You're fabulous. So you're going to be reading Rita Mae Brown?
Yes, my favorite.
So why is she a favorite of yours? I know you're going to read it and talk about how it affected you, but what drew you into her?
Well, it wasn't Ruby for a Jungle, which is, my age group's kind of seminal lesbian work. I've read very few books more than once, and her Six of One I've read probably 3 times, maybe 4 times. Fried Green Tomatoes is the other big read of mine, but it's just such a well-crafted story, and there are sections and terms and things that I found myself, even now, it was written in 78, even now, 30-something years later, it still resonates with me. So when I picked it up and I started reading it again, I thought, oh no, I'm going to get sucked in one more time.
That is excellent news. I find for myself, well, I know that because you write so many series, you get attracted to your characters as much as I do. But I find when a story is very well crafted and it's unique and it draws you in, it's like that, like Raiders of the Lost Ark or, some other kind of there's a shiny bauble at the end of the room. I cannot resist it. And, really good books are those shiny, sparkling things that you shouldn't take out of the cave.
Absolutely. And this was just, for me, it was super easy when you were saying, what is it? What would you, I said, I got to read the one thing that made me know I wanted to write books like that. And I still aspire to write books like she does.
So why don't you give us a little bit of a lead up for your reading, and then you can start.
Okay. Well, I'm actually going to read the back because it's one of those. She actually has a sequel to it, and I think there's a third one to it. So I don't know that she intended when she wrote it to be kind of a series. It's more like a mini series, but it really, for somebody who's grown up on the West Coast, it really showed me a lot about the South and women of the Deep South and those Southern manners. And that's one of the chapters that I'm going to read. So whether careening through town, propelling cars like long-range missiles, or laying waste to a costume 4th of July parade, Wheezy and Jets Hunsenmeyer are Runnymede most irrepressible, mule-headed sister act. Together, these unrivaled Southern siblings cheerfully raise hell, and a hell of a family, among some of the most colorful townsfolk you are ever likely to meet. And that's incredibly true because the love story in this is phenomenal. Chief among them is elegant Celeste Chalfant. And exquisite as she is fearless, Celeste kills a man and marries a woman. Slow-eyed Ramel Bowman. And when Ramel has Curtis Chalfant's child, no one bats an eye, even though Ramel has no intention of leaving her beloved Celeste. Then there's Fanny Jump Creighton, who runs a speakeasy in her mansion, and activist Fairy Thatcher, who disappears into Hitler's Germany. Through it all run Wheezy and Jets, heading pell-mell into the future with their hands firmly gripped around each other's throats. Spanning more than 50 years of the tumultuous 20th century, Six of One is a joyous celebration of the human spirit and the ties binded even by the unlikeliest of families. So that's, for me, that it was just that whole family, the difference, you've got activists, you have Nazi Germany, you just have, what was happening with women in that time period. And she's funny as shit. Before she started going and writing about her cat series, which I don't know what that's about, and she lost me when she started writing about her cat detectives, but you laugh out loud. In her early works, and especially with Jets and Wheezy, you laugh out loud. If you ever had a sister and you've ever fought with a sister, this book will make you crap your pants. So, yeah.
I love one of those books where you'd wake up your partner if you were sitting reading next to them while they were sleeping. And so I love those kind of books that just grab you and make you laugh and make you bark out loud. You're like, oh my God, oh, sorry, honey. It was just this really funny line.
Yeah.
It's like I say, don't read any Colette Moody when your partner is laying next to you because you're going to disturb her. So now I want to hear it because I haven't actually, I think I read one book of hers. So I'm interested to hear this particular reading.
Oh, good. All right. Well, I'm ready.
Going ahead, lay it on me.
All right. It goes back and forth in time. So this is, I'm going to read the first chapter, and then I have a couple others that just to really, again, show some of the characterization. May 21st, 1980. I bought Mother a new car. It damn near killed Aunt Louise. Those two have been fighting like banny roosters since 1905, the year Mom was born. The first big blow-up that both recall involved a multicolored hair ribbon. 1909, Juts, my mom, says Celeste Chalfant gave it to her because she was such a pretty, sweet little darling. This made Louise jealous. Things have been sliding downhill for them ever since. Louise trumpets a different version of this earth-shattering event. She says Celeste Chalfant made a present of the ribbon to her because she was such a pretty, sweet little darling. Juts, that jealous devil, snatched it clean off her head, getting some hair by the roots in the bargain. Being 7, Louise refrained from beating her younger sister to a pulp. Instead, she reported the theft to their mother, Cora Hunsmeyer, in the hopes that she would do it. Cora, justice personified, returned the ribbon to Louise. Ever since that day, Juts has been eating up with green envy. Louise swears this for a fact. In May of 1980, I still can't untangle Victor from victim. It changes regularly like night and day as each sister revolves around the other. The front door just slammed. It's Aunt Wheezy, Louise. Juts, you steep in pickled eggs, I see. You see fine. Want one? No, you put too much sugar. I like my eggs a bit more tart. Figures. Oh, hell's bells. I can't say anything around you or that damn kid you picked off the streets in 1944. Louise, she's my daughter, sure as if I bore her. Ha! You never will know what it is to be a mother. You have to give birth. Blood of your blood, bone of your bone. It's all so mystical and spiritual. But then I don't expect you to understand. You wouldn't listen to me in 1944, and you won't listen to me now. Piss on your teeth. Walking around like a bloated toad don't make no woman a mother. Mothering's in the raising up of a child. Well, a fine job you did of it. Nicole left the church, left the town, left you, and now she writes books that disgrace the whole family. Well, if you don't want no one to know your business, keep your mouth shut. How was I to know that brat would remember everything? Wheeze, the last thing to die on you will be your mouth. You just don't tell Nickel stories. You now got a goddamn CB radio and tell everybody who tunes in. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Oh, I can't stand it. I have got to go out and referee. Are you two at it again? Aunt Louise whirled around to greet me. You got gall, Nicole Smith, showing your face in this house. Why? It's Mom's house. Well, writing stories that make fun of me, Grand Regent of the Catholic Daughters of America for the great state of Maryland. I'm so embarrassed I could die. I doubt we'll all be that lucky. Nicole, don't you talk that way to my sister. Oh, Jesus H. Christ on a raft. See, Jets? See? That's what comes of her leaving the church, just throwing Jesus' name around like it was salt. Your Aunt Louise is right. Show a little respect. Ugh, I'm going back to the sunroom. You two are impenetrable. Mom, can I have a pickled egg? Get it and get out. Me and Louise are talking business. As I shut the door behind me, I heard Louise ask in a deafening whisper, impenetrable? What's that mean? That word dumb? I never know if I'm being insulted or not. It's hell having a daughter who went to college. 2 pairs of feet hurried over to the big dictionary Mom keeps stashed under the coffee table. I can hear the pages rustling. Louise, look under I, not E. I can picture those gray heads bending over Webster's. Once they find impenetrable, they'll soon start in on each other with renewed vigor. 75 years is a long time to love and hate. Come on. I got you hooked, don't I?
It's like, I'm going to snatch you bald-headed. Come here.
And they fight throughout the whole book. But in the end, they're sisters. So it just makes it for a really fun romp and read. Now, the central to the story is the love affair between Celeste and Ramel. And I'm reading this as probably my most favorite chapter anywhere in terms of romance and love. And so this is, and it's early on in the book, but we see this grand dame Celeste who has all of this money and all of this power. And I think you could probably liken her to any of the old Hollywood women who were gay, and Barbara Stanwyck kind of would play a great Celeste Chapant. So, but now we're back into July 3rd, 1912. The night before, Celeste, in her wildness, had torn off Ramel's blouse. Though she was a strict believer in good manners, there were no rules for the bedroom as far as she was concerned. Still, suspecting she might have behaved a little beastly, she had 10 new blouses arranged like the rainbow on the breakfast table. Celeste, how beautiful. They're not beautiful until you put them on. Ramel paused between sips of coffee, then said, "Do you think other women feel the way we do? About each other? No. I mean about physical things. My mother never breathed a word about it. I'm not at all sure how she conceived children. Aside from the fact that we're together, do you think we're odd because we enjoy sex? Celeste! Ha! You can do it, but you can't say it? No. No one we know seems to enjoy such things except for Fanny Jump Creighton. Darling, I never think there's anything wrong with me or you for that matter. As for the rest of the world, they are their own problem." Cora dropped a spoon in the small pantry off the breakfast room. Ramel jumped in her seat. Celeste, eyebrow arched to her hairline, turned toward the noise. "Show yourself." Cora opened the pantry door, hand on head. "What do you want, Miss High and Mighty?" "You heard everything, I presume." "I ain't deaf." "And what, might I ask, were you doing in there?" "Polishing the silver, like you told me." Celeste, remembering that she had, in fact, assigned her that chore, put her napkin next to her plate. "I rely on your discretion, Cora." Ramel sat motionless while color slowly returned into her cheeks. "Hell, I got no one to talk to." "Lest you think harshly of Ramel, I want you to know I am the one who initiates such acts." Ramel spoke up. "Spare us your southern sense of honor, madam. I'm in this as much as you are." "What are you two squawking about?" Cora still had her hand on her hip. "All I see is love. There's precious little of that in the world. Finish your breakfast." She stepped back in the pantry to finish the silver. Before Celeste or Ramel could say anything to one another, Diana burst into the room. "Miss Celeste, Spotty is here." So this is one of my favorite things because of the fact that Celeste, in this incredibly southern, total southern gentry manner, tears her lover's shirt, and yet the next morning there's 10 other colors laying on the table for her. And I think that act said so much to me about understanding how the South operates, understanding Celeste, understanding her respect and love, and the fact that she, there's no rules in the boudoir, but maybe she crossed the line because she destroyed something that might have been important to her partner. And so for me, that has just always resonated as just the pinnacle of respect for a partner, and in a time when they, again, what a lovely sentiment to have Cora, who is Jets and Wheezy's mom, Cora, to be able to say, "All I see is love."
Mm-hmm.
And so that just really, it is one of my all-time favorite chapters. Because I can just see it. I can just, and when you see Celeste and read Celeste and what she does to protect all of these women in her life, it just makes for a fun and fabulous read.
So, what kind of, you said that, the impact that this book had on you as a writer. What kind of impact did it have on you as a woman?
Oh, that's a really good question. Back in the day, again, this was written in 78, so I was 18, and I hadn't come out yet. And, well, everybody knew I was gay but me. And I kid you not, when I came out to a couple of my friends at 19 and 20, they went, please tell us this isn't the first you knew of it. We've known since you were 5. Oh, well, shit. I actually said to my oldest friend, I'm 54, and my oldest friend I've known for 50 of those years. And when I came out to her, she did, in fact, say that. Please tell me that you didn't just find this out. I didn't know what to say. I was kind of like, And then I looked at her and I go, well, damn you, then why didn't you tell me? It's just not really my call. Not really my place. So for me, in 78, it was this relationship that I saw with just this incredible amount of respect and love and admiration, and how these women played off each other, kind of gave me that the romantic view. And it's funny that I write so much, paranormal, supernatural, zombie-eating people, demon hunters, splattering guts all over the place. And the fact is, even though to look at me, you probably wouldn't know, I'm an incredible romantic. And this, the romance of this particular book is what I wanted for my life. And that's what I wanted for my, for the women that I got involved with. I wanted somebody who would not only tear my clothes off, but then replace them with nicer things. Because it's that fine line. Yeah, Celeste tore her blouse, but in a fit of passion, which is a wonderful thing, and we all see it in the movies, and we fantasize about it. But how nice would it be to then have somebody turn around and say, "Here, I might have crossed a line, and here's 10 more." So as a woman, it gave me strong characters that I think I wouldn't start writing for another 10 years. So for me, it just gave me characters that I loved, I thought about, I wanted to be able to create. So as a writer, it really affected me in that way. As a woman, it just gave me, that romantic notion of the kind of relationship that I wanted.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite, it didn't come off on the film Fried Green Tomatoes feels like an alien next to the book itself. But for Fried Green Tomatoes as a book, I felt that kind of, like the love that they bonded together, made a huge impact on me as well. That kind of, despite the time period, and also I love how a lot of it's told in gossip bulletins. But that love affair was special to me, and I think that's the reason why I didn't like the movie, was because I saw them as lovers and partners and all their foibles and bees and honey. So yeah, I love that story.
Oh, me too. It's as a matter of fact, just a minute ago, Renee said, "What is we were looking at favorite quotes. What's your all-time favorite quote from a book?" And I had to laugh. I said, "You're just a bee charmer, edgy thread good." That is an amazing. And I gotta say, excuse me, in the movie when Mary Louise Parker dips her hand into the honey jar, and that's one of my favorite all-time scenes too. You can get those long fingers into my honey jar anytime.
Woo!
Woo! It's got really warm in here.
Golly!
All right, I have one more chapter to read, right?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. And this is toward the end of the book. April of 1956. Come on, wake up. Cora gently rocked Nickel awake. Come on. You said you wanted to see the sunrise with me. Okay. The child crawled out of bed, put on her clothes, brushed her teeth, and bounded downstairs. Shh. Mom and Dad are still asleep. Cora put her finger to her lips. Sorry. Here, carry the blankets. I'll carry our breakfast. Where are we going? To the top of the hill behind the house. Best view of the sunrise for miles. Cora trotted lightly toward the back door. Birds called to one another as the two figures climbed the little hill. A silver band appeared in the east. Creatures could be heard running, and the lone owl swooped overhead, gliding toward rest. Here. Now ain't this something? Yeah, Gran, you know all the best places. See, you put on a red and yellow. You know what that means? What? Nichols' eyes gleamed with anticipation. She loved Cora, who was full of stories and fun. Red and yellow, catch a fellow. Nickel looked down at her jacket and pants, half expecting 40 boys to suddenly appear on the hill. Did you ever have a fellow? I was married once. That's how I got your mother, Louise. He ran off, and then had a fellow named Ames Rankin. Was he nice? He was a good man. Why, he was like a blade of grass, busting up through the sidewalk. Special. Cora emphasized special. Like Daddy? Cora stopped for a moment, then slowly replied, in a way. Chessie's a fine man, too. Gran, how old are you? I'll be 73 in the fall. I like to look ahead, Cora laughed. That's a lot, huh? Yes, but Fanny Jump is ahead of me by 6 years. She was born in 1877, and I was born in 1883. I was born in 1944. I know. Years are your wealth, darling. I'm a rich woman. Cora reached in the basket for rolls and butter. Here. Thanks, Gran. I try to think ahead, too. I am thinking about going to college when I grow up. Well, that's wonderful. Put your money in your head. No one can ever take it from you, Ben. That's what Mom says, too. Nickel gobbled a roll. That's my daughter. Me and Mom fight a lot. Nickel paused. We're bullheaded. That's what Daddy says. I never fight with Daddy. She's a good mother. You listen to her. Nickel's mouth twitched to the corners. Yes, ma'am. When she's right, I'll listen. See, there you go again. Not me, Gran. Nickel hung her head and giggled. You'll go far, child. I can see that. If you put that bullheadedness in the right direction, nothing will stop you. I'm going to go far. Just watch. Nickel's eyes blazed. I hope I'm here to see it, sweetheart. Gran, you'll live forever. Wouldn't mind that a bit. I sure hate to think of missing anything. Cora popped a roll in her mouth and put jam on another one. Nickel peered intently at Cora. Why did Aunt Mary have to die? No, only the good Lord knows that. How can he be good if he lets Aunt Mary die and Napoleon Rife live? He knows things we don't, I suppose. I don't believe that. What? Cora held Nickel's hand for a moment. I don't believe in God. Child, don't say such things. Well, you never see him. You can't talk to him, but he doesn't talk back, and he lets Aunt Mary burn to a crisp and me get a bloody nose. There's no God. Nickel, someday you'll be in a big trouble, and then you'll discover the Lord and whatever is up there. I hope I live to see it, she mocked her grandmother. Here, Smarty Pants, have a little peach. Aunt Louise goes to church every day now, you know. Yes, I know. She was always inclined that way. Gives her comfort. Yeah, I don't mind if it gives her comfort, but she tries to drag me along with her. I can tell you didn't appreciate you putting a goldfish in the holy waterfront. Fish need baptism, too. Oh, you're a bag of beans, kids. Cora opened a thermos of hot tea. Try to remember that Aunt Louise lost one of her daughters. That's a terrible thing. Outliving your children. Parents expect their own to put them into the ground. Nickel grew quiet. I don't want to outlive Mom and Dad. You must, honey. That's life. You go on. Gran? What? You don't go to church. This here's my church. Cora pointed to the land. You can't buy a sunrise. It's a gift. Yeah. Nickel, too, had caught her grandmother's deep love of nature. What did you and David do yesterday? We sat by the side of the road and counted Pontiacs. Well, I declare, I won, Nickel proudly bragged. You watch over David. He's missing a few lights. You mean he's dumb? Well, I wouldn't say that. The boy's a little slow, and now with his mama gone, he's sorrowful. You help him. Yes, ma'am. Nickel agreed. Davy's good in a fight, though. Cora swallowed some hot tea. It hits the spot. Celestial thought she used to make the best tea. I wish I could have met Celeste. Everyone talks about her. You got her birthday, you know. I know. What's she like? Well, first, She took your breath away when you looked at her. Celeste and Ramel were the two most beautiful women I ever laid eyes on. Tell me more about Celeste, Nickel pressed. Oh, she was witty, powerful, smart. She was strong. Yeah, that woman was strong. When something had to be done in bad times, Celeste was the one to carry the load. And her eyebrow used to go up like a curtain at the Capitol Theater. Cora tried to make her eyebrows shoot up. I hope I grow up to be just like Celeste. I do too. But people are like snowflakes. No two alike. You be you. That would please Celeste. And that would please me.
I was very close to my grandmother, and she passed when I was 8. And she's from Oklahoma, and she had a very thick accent. And I grew up listening to country music, like Dolly Parton and Crystal Gale and Kenny Rogers. And she used to sing the song along with the songs on the transistor radio while she was cooking in the kitchen. And so sometimes when I hear like this kind of pairing, like the older and the younger, it reminds me of her in a good way.
Whereabouts in Oklahoma? My family's from Oklahoma.
I believe it's either Choctaw or Anadarko. It's one of those two.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okies are special people.
She's just the sweetest, kindest person that I know I see her through the rose-colored lenses of a young person, but she always went out of her way to be good and kind to people, and I always aspired to be like her. She's a good woman. They don't grow them all the time, but sometimes you find a good woman.
All right, this is the. I have 2 more. This is pretty quick. For weeks, Ramel lay in the hospital dying of lung cancer. She wanted to get it over with. The spike through her lungs pinned her to the bed. Fierce pain would not let her go. She lay there observing fluttering nurses tiptoe around her. She saw the faces of Jutz, Louise, Fanny, and Spotty every day, but she could barely speak. Sometimes she thought she saw Curtis, too, but then she remembered he had died 4 months before of a heart attack. He seemed so real. She saw Nickel, child eyes enormous with fear and wonder at death. The light beyond those faces, were they friendly beacons to the beyond? Today the pain intensified. A beating overhead startled her. The glistening wings of a giant bird undulated. A silver eagle's talons smashed through the ceiling and reached for her. Ramel raised her hand to welcome the intruder. The monster ripped into her, then vanished. The spike through her lungs was gone. Perhaps he had seized the pain, she thought. The room became hazy, and Ramel began to float. She saw herself young, golden hair crowning her head as she wore it in 1907. Surrounded by beautiful hills, 6 soft breasts of earth, she climbed the 7th. Each hill was smothered in a solid color of tulips. One hill ran red, another yellow, another purple. The tulips were singing. Their transparent veins surged rhythmically with opalescent blood. Her hill, the 7th, dazzled her eyes by having all the colors mixed together. What secrets they sang to her, a universal throbbing. Spring breezes filled her and made her feel light as she drew near the crest of the hill. A cascade of butterflies released their tiny feet from the tulips and swirled around her head. The music pulsated louder, fanned by the butterfly wings. Ramel was panting from her climb. Ramel, beautiful, beautiful friend, a voice called to her. On top of the hill, arms outstretched, black hair lustrous, stood Celeste. All the energy of the world dancing in her smile. Ramel's ribcage shattered. Her joy was so great that her heart exploded out of her body. She dashed for Celeste's embrace, smooth arms encircling her waist, and she buried her face in Celeste's elegant neck. Darling, oh darling, I love you for eternity, Ramel sobbed. We have eternity, Celeste whispered in a voice deep as Jupiter, and kissed her amid the tulips and butterflies.
Oh.
I know. And let me tell you, once you get to know those 2 characters, that scene will tear your heart out. And finally, Nickel bolted out of the tin can, scooped up a still live football, and dashed back into the car. This time, half of her dress hung out the door. Sydney gunned the motor while Elaine blew her trumpet out the window. Charge! The girls ran straight down the middle of the field and under the goalpost and scored a touchdown. The scoreboard registered the feat. Now Maxie Sissodu was coloring Maltby. The kids kept going. They knew not to stick around at the scene of their crime. She's adopted. She's no blood relation. She's not really my niece. Never saw her before in my life. Granted. Oh, shut up, Louise, Julia admonished. I told you never to adopt that kid. French blood does it every time. Shut up, Louise. Wild. Those foreigners are wild. Passed down in the bloodstream. Louise. Julia yanked her down off the bleacher. Calm yourself. The two sisters rattled and haggled the whole way home. Louise had recently purchased a wall-to-wall carpet, of which she was inordinately proud. As the adults walked into the living room, Louise was still hitting her note. Julia, we are disgraced. Maisie runs all over town in a cowboy outfit. Leave Nickel alone. Alone? Why? They could have killed somebody. Sidney Goldstein's a good driver. That's what comes of hanging around Jews. I bet that little smarty planned the whole thing. The only difference between us and Jews, Justin and former sister, is that they have more arms on their candlesticks. Did you know about this? No. It's bad enough she's a bastard. Then you influence her. She's as bad as you were when you were young. You, of course, were a saint. Well, you said it, I didn't. Louise hopped up and down. Louise, put some coffee up. Pearlie tried to distract her. No. Well, you come into the kitchen with me and help me do it. He winked to Chessie. Men are so helpless. Louise put her hands on her hips, but she did go into the kitchen. A loud, Julia, ricocheted into the kitchen. Chessie possessed good lungs. Louise raced back into the living room to find her sister adjusting her skirt. Julia latched onto Chessie's wrist and pulled him to his feet. She made haste for the door. What's that puddle on my wall-to-wall carpet? Louise blasted. Piss on your rug! Julia zoomed out the door.
What the hell?
Yeah. I love it. You know, you talk shit about my kid and I'm going to pee on your rug too. Yeah. So the story again, and the brilliance of it is that it intertwines these momentous historical moments with, you know, the genteel Southern living of Celeste and Ramel as two women in love in the South, and then Jets and Wheezy, who are constantly fighting as, you know, Catholic women, and there's a murder mystery involved in there. It's a brilliant book. It really is. So I was thrilled to be able to share that during your Lizzie's Bedtime Pride stories.
Yes, I'm really glad that you brought it. One of the things that I strive to do with topical episodes, or in this case, Pride, is to open people's eyes to things they've never experienced before, point of views they've never known before, and books they've never read before, all of which are an enriching experience. And I'm glad that you introduced me to it, because I never would have known of this book without you.
Well, you know, Liz, I think that's such a big thing because, you know, again, at 54, my generation knows Ruby Fruit Jungle. We know Rita Mae Brown. And a lot of the younger women don't know who she is, and she's iconic. I mean, she's, you know, before Catherine Forrest, before, you know, Nell, before so many of the different wonderful authors that we have Rita Mae Brown. And I think that it's important and it's incumbent on us to remember the, you know, kind of like one of the original door openers, because she went on to do screenplays. She's done a ton of different things. She teaches, you know, she's been with Martina Navratilova. So that, how do you miss out on that story? Come on, you can't make that stuff up.
God bless her.
You know, so I think I do think it's important, and I think that 6 of 1 should be. When we were looking at the Writing Academy, it was one of the things that I thought, you know, this should be almost required reading, simply because it is such a well-crafted story, and it teaches you so much about so many different things. You know, rarely have I read a book that has made me stop and not just laugh, but stop and go, God, you know, it's so different in the South, and wow, you know, what were strong women, you know, lesbian women doing during World War? Because one of the women ends up being a spy, and, you know, in Hitler's Germany. And so it just brings so many different things that for me as an educator, as a woman, as a writer, as a reader, just hit all of my, happy buttons.
I'm with you. Like I love history. I love watching documentaries, and I enjoy reading historical fiction, and just delving into these lives and honoring them and giving them space to be. And one of the things that's true not just for us lesbianas, but also for women in general, our stories are rarely told, and the further you go back in the centuries, the less our narratives are there. So I like reading things that have been written in another time, and I also like reading things written honoring these women, even though they're fictional characters. There were real women who led these lives.
Right, exactly. So this was my it was a no-brainer for me. Again, because I seldom, and there's too many books out there to read them more than once, but this one, and not only that, I bet I read it again after reading that, because I just laugh, and I just, they're those characters that you just never let go of, and
like Storm.
Yeah. I'm hoping. Yeah, I can't really get rid of her.
That there are some things in the interviews that I do that stick with me, and one of the things that stuck with me from I believe it was our last interview was how you say nearly every day something about Storm occurs to you.
Yes, absolutely. And what's really funny is that I have one of my characters in Demon Hunter is named Dallas. I can't tell you how many times I've written Delta when I meant Dallas. It's like, come on, it's like she's haunting me. But yeah. And maybe it's like your first love, maybe that's what that's about for me, is that Delta really was my first, where I had 4 other books that didn't make it anywhere. I had tons and tons of rejection, and Delta was the first one that really, got me published. So I think that for her, it's like I have an homage to her, on my arm, because it's she made it all happen.
And that is a terribly romantic notion.
Shh, quiet! Don't you ruin my finely crafted tough girl reputation.
You're such a fucking bruiser.
I know.
A bruiser with a typewriter. God damn it.
Just don't tell anybody. Come on.
It's a secret. It's a secret between me and everybody who listens to this broadcast.
I know. No, well, and the person that probably brings out the softest side of me, believe it or not, is Beth Burnett. She's the kindest human being that I've ever met, and there's just something about her that just makes me all soft and squishy inside. Is she doing this too for you?
Not the readings. She is doing a blog for the Pride blog series.
Right. Okay.
But I adore her. Actually, I'm interviewing her next Saturday to talk about her books. It's her review show, and so I'll spend time with her. But I always say she has an excess of awesomeness.
That's a good way to put it. Yes, she does.
I adore her, and she makes everybody, big and small, whoever they are, they feel loved, and we got to keep that. Just like earlier in the interview when you were reading, about love being rare, and there's nothing wrong with that, even if it's not something that we expect. So I'm all about the love and sharing the love.
Were you going to ask me questions from this?
No. I think we're good to go. And I'm really stoked that you shared not only one part, but several excerpts, because each has a unique flavor, and I know that my listeners' interest will be piqued, and Amazon will have an unusual spike for a particular title. And
good. And I hope somebody who is listening, if they want to even shoot me an email at iamstorm@yahoo, just after they read it, or come on my Facebook or whatever, because it really is one of those books that I would love to talk to somebody about, because it has it holds such a warm place in my heart, and I would give anything for Rita Mae to come back and write one more final chapter to this particular series. And I mean, she did, because there were a couple that went after it. Not even to the series, but just anything besides cat detectives. Come on, Rita Mae.
How dare you with your...
I know, come on. Your people need you. Come back.
Return. Go into the light, Caroline.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking me, Liz. This was really fun. I cannot wait to see you at GCLS, and you're going out to dinner with us one night, right?
Yes, I am. It's going to be fantastic. I loved having you on.
Cool. Thank you so much.